to a campus, you know you are going to fight. You're not going to pack people. I was living here, and I look at the students programming there. In some places like they are social like flats. I said, and somebody will come in the truck, shoot it to the air, and pack these guys, and they are no resistance. That should not be accountable to. Courage. I'm going to read about villages in Niger State. In the last 2-3 months, we have at least 60 villages that have overrun. My small group, the young people here and now, people run, and there's no way we will let our people to follow their house. Can we have a system like this? So that when we are going to Nigeria, we are coming to fight. And if that happens, then you find that these things are reduced. Because the easiest thing people are getting is violence, is capital. And so you just come, you try to for 1 or 2 weeks, and then you have 800 million. What is the budget of the state? So those are some of the things I think we can do. We are in trouble. For those of us who were adults when General Buhari was in power, we are not surprised that what will happen now. But maybe a lot of people don't understand, we don't know what happened then. But we now know. And what we need to do as a people is how do we take over. Let's we have actually set the tone for this discussion, touching on the 3 issues, and there are takeaways that we have on each of those issues. For instance, on the issue of national minimum wage, we made 2 points that I feel are very strong. Number one is that we identified that the labor movement is not forceful enough. And that is why some governors will tell you they don't have money to pay. They can't pay 30,000 minimum wage. Because we have a labor movement that is sleeping, that is not working to its responsibility to the workers. And that is a major challenge. And that's the reason why at every point in time they throw anything at us or at the workers and nothing is done. Then he proposed that, see, instead of cutting workers' wages, why don't we eliminate some of these non-performing institutions? The National Assembly is one. In fact, the biggest non-performing institution in this country. And they are collecting huge amounts of money. Government should cut from that, should eliminate the wastage in that institution to pay workers. We are talking of a minimum wage, a starving wage, for God's sake. And that is a key point that we want to hold on to. Then, on the issue of national question, he has said it all. It is we ourselves that will decide or who will decide what we want. It is we ourselves that will take our fate in our hands. We need to recognize the fact that sovereignty belongs to us. And we need to assert that. That is the point. But then, how do we assert that? He made mention of 2 points: organizing and mobilizing. In your local communities, in your areas, are you part of a movement for the emancipation of the masses? Let us begin to think around these issues. And of course, the issues around insecurity. Yes, the greatest form of insecurity is joblessness. We have some 33 million Nigerians unemployed and 64 million underemployed. These are readily available tools in the hands of any bandit, any Boko Haram to recruit. Whereas the least amount with which a worker can earn to enable him survive the month, to enable him to be able to function as a worker. Minimum is not a living wage. A living wage 20,000 naira. It's not talk of food. As a worker, imagine that you even do 010. You come to the office and take up and pure water. And later, probably just mama put without. Let's assume, minimally, you spend 200 naira on feeding yourself alone. We're not talking about the children, 2 children. Put that at an average of another 200 naira. Minimally. 400 naira times 30 days in a month. How much is that? 12,000 naira. Don't forget you have 10,000 naira gone on transportation. You have 22,000 naira. Minimum. And we are talking of 1 meal, just 1 meal. And then somebody tells you that they cannot pay it. The implication of telling you that they cannot pay that 30,000 naira, that's minimum wage, is another way of telling you that you can go to hell. You can die as a worker if you want to die. Whichever way you are able to manage your survival is your own business, because it leads to the question of security. It leads to the question of corruption. The implication of not paying this minimum for a human being, even their dogs. How much would you use in feeding their dogs? You're talking about a human being. Look at that in context. So if you cannot pay that, if you refuse for months to pay a worker, that's minimum. You ask yourself, how does the worker survive? We've not talked about rent. We've not talked about water. We've not talked about health. NHIS does not take care of everything. For yourself, your children, and God helps you if your wife is not working or your spouse is not working. And probably you have some aged parents. Excuse me, what is 30,000 naira? What was 18,000 naira? Because usually this is what you're expected to do with the money. You're expected to work 8 hours in a day. 8 to 4. So the whole of your life is on that workplace. And at the end of the day, you are given a take home that doesn't take you to the hostel. I think this is the height of wickedness of any leadership. To say we can, because they look at this 30,000 in terms of 30,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, they count it like figure, not in terms of the actual purchasing power of 30,000. So for me, therefore, the strategy going forward is that I think we need to break down, and that is what labor is not doing effectively. It's not sufficient for us to carry placards, because sometimes they don't understand the language. Even the support, even the general Nigerians sometimes don't even understand the language. We need to be able to break it down to everyday reality. We need to be able to do our study and follow the ordinary Nigerian. How do you survive your day? And put it to them. And then side by that, let's also follow how they live their own lives. This same worker who attends public school with the child not barely be able to have decent shoe. You look at them going to go around the suburbs and see the way their uniforms are, like rats. Then compare to their own children. For the children of the elite, how much they pay for education? Where they go to buy their own tomatoes and food stuff and everything. How much they pay averagely for feeding? How much do they pay averagely for health? I put this in comparison and tell them, who is the dog and who is the master? I think these are some of the things we need to do. We need to go into real practical action and not just stay with the figures. And after that, we
should go beyond minimum wage and begin to pressure for living minimum wage. Because we now hinge it back to the Constitution, which says that you don't have a business in being in government, in being in leadership, if you cannot take care of the welfare and the security of the people. The welfare of the people is about their daily lives. How they survive, how they feed, how they work, their livelihoods, access to basic facilities. If you cannot guarantee that, then your legitimacy as a governor, as a president, as any leader, political leader, is questioned. Because that constitution you promised to uphold, which you swore to uphold during your naming your swearing in ceremony, you are not living by it. If you are not living by it, then you don't have a business to be there. So I think these are some of the realities, these are the ways we need to fight concretely. And that's why when my colleague talked about sovereignty, that power is in our hands. To let them understand that you're taking an oath to defend the people, the interests of the people. It's on this basis of this. The moment you are failing to do that, you let go. So any government, like you said, on that basis, who is unable to pay minimum wage, is therefore saying that is a murderer. Is an abettor of corruption, because if that person gets involved in any criminal act, or their child, as a result of that poverty that has pushed them, or any kind of corruption, you just go to your workplace, the security man does not want you to see or that until you drop something, or you don't see your file until you drop something. It is from that little thing you drop that is going to augment his transport. It is the responsibility of the state, or it is the state that has led him into that action. And so the state should be held liable. A poor man goes to steal a pot of soup from the neighbor's house, and not for them to enjoy. In fact, the pot of soup has no meat, just to provide for the children. It has happened around Abuja here. Some of us have heard it. To provide for children. As a matter of fact, if you take that person to court, it is the state that should be liable. The state is responsible for leading that person into such frustration, such level of hopelessness, that you are so pushed to the wall. You have to survive the survival instinct. Nobody easily wants to watch himself or herself die. You fight to keep yourself alive. In as much as there are times when you shoot somebody or you kill somebody and they call it in self-defense. So there is a basic kind of corruption. Please get me right. I'm not supporting it. But that it is survival instinct. It is a necessity that has been caused by the irresponsibility of the state. So that for me is where the issue of minimum wage lies. Because they don't understand it. Even the generality of Nigerians don't understand it. And we need to put it this way for them. Some of these their children take 30,000 naira as pocket money every week. You see young boys and young girls in some of these expensive restaurants. What they eat in one meal, sitting down, is what a whole family of 4 or 5 will use to eat for 1 month. And you say you are justified? So much for that. But we quickly go to, so leading to that is the question of, is the national question. What are the sensitive issues about the national question? We talk about citizenship. We talk about identity. When people talk therefore about the right to self-determination, is for the majority, but it also has its own questions. Yes, there's a right to self-determination as a national question. Yes, but what are the core issues behind it? Lack of social justice. How will you guarantee it? Everywhere in this country, at every level, governors from the east, from the west, from the south, everywhere, middle belt, have been known to be kleptocratic. Not providing services to their people. I have not heard of Anuachuku being the governor of a Borno state. It is a Borno state indigene that governs Borno state, for instance, and yet underserves his people with resources that are meant for the people. I have not heard of a Kayode being a governor in Zamfara state. It is the Mohammed that comes from Zamfara, that encourages, that works through his action and inaction to bring about terrorism, to bring about poverty, to bring about frustration. So you see that all across the country, there is something about the division that is based on class. They are united in exploiting. We are divided. And the rest of the country is divided in terms of who are you looking at? Where are you located? What is your identity? Recently, I was at a hospital, part of the national question, issue of their identity. And I was asked, I hate to fill this portion of the form that asks me of my religion and my tribe, and I always protest it. 3 days ago, I was at the hospital, I was filling a form. Madam, what's your religion? I said, why did you ask? What has it got to do with my health problem? I want to see doctor. Is there a sickness that is tribalized? Is there a Yoruba sickness different from an Igbo sickness? My problem has to do with I'm having some things from fleeting whatever in my ear. ENT, is there ENT that is specialized for the nuclear person that different from the way I'm feeling? What is it? I mean, in terms of the religion, I started with that. He said, hey, madam, that the system will not take it if I don't want it. So I said, feel anything you want to feel. And she stood there, she was looking at me. I was not even veiled this way. My veil was just hanging by the side. So she was not sure. I think at the end of the day, I think by the time I got to the doctor, it was happening that she had written Christianity. It's not my business. What I worship is my business. So these are some of those things that should be expunged from our national life, from the public space. What's my tribe? It's a confusion. Because when you say what's my tribe or what's my state of origin, I say by my state of origin you are asking of where my father comes from or where he claims he comes from. Is that necessarily where I come from? I was not born there. I don't speak the language. I don't use the culture. So how can I be linked to a place where I cannot identify culturally, linguistically? So these are some of the flaws that creates this difference, this wanting to say, let us be us, let us go, let us have our own republic. If self-determination is based on a genuine need for development that is based on removing class differences within our society, let it all well be. And the self-determination that is being propagated in Nigeria is on the basis of selfish interest. They have stolen some wealth. They want a small space to go and be lords. And so we need to understand this. We need to ask ourselves, question. What is the problem with Nigeria? How can we resolve the question of identity, of citizenship? Why should I be born in Kaduna State, for instance? I have lived practically all my life there, and I'm looking for a job. And they tell me I cannot write Kaduna State. That's not my state of origin. Excuse me. So I am forced to identify with the place my father claims it is his own place of origin, even if I don't know anything about that place. So these are some of the fundamental questions with respect to, issues of identity and citizenship that built into the national question. And we need to resolve, we need to fight to expunge these demands in our public lives. And the government should also has no business supporting or sponsoring any religious activity. Like Comrade said, I personally don't introduce prayer in my meetings. I don't. When I start, and some people say, Comrade, we've not prayed. I say, we've not prayed. This is not church now. This is not mosque. This is a political meeting. You mean you didn't pray from your house before you came here? Okay, when you came here and sat down, you didn't say your 1 minute or 2 minutes prayer to yourself? No, please, there's no prayer in my agenda. Because it's hypocritical. There is no reason why we should be building churches and mosques in public spaces. If we do that, then they should be taxed. The churches and the mosques, the imams and the pastors, they are richer than their congregation. Why? Because they work on the psychology. So the more you pray, the more God will give you. And the more you are giving, the poorer you are becoming. And they tell you, don't worry, heaven is yours. Which heaven? We don't go come back as the heaven. Let my heaven start from here. Even some of us that went through those kinds of institutions cannot take our children to those institutions. We are struggling to take our children to other schools. Once I took my daughter to the primary school I attended, and she looked at me. I said, what? This cannot be the school I attended. I said, this is the school that I attended. I said, I am going to Ajaba home. And it's right to play children. So me and my Ajaba. Because I won't take her to that school. But why not? Why are we not maintaining them? Why are we not keeping them? So the struggle for you to survive and live a decent life, the fear of the future. What is there for me tomorrow? Am I going to die like this? My father served government for 35 years. He died a poor man, homeless. Am I going to die like this? No, it's not my portion. So the struggle. Then of course, there is an elite class that also fuels that insecurity. Because when they fuel it, we are divided. Now all our attention is what is happening. Today they say that the Abuja is no longer secure. Oh, they saw how many people coming. And that dominates the conversation. That dominates the conversation. And we are struggling. We are thinking, no, they will need military. Go and secure these children. Why that has dominated the conversation? They are busy looting. The finance minister herself told us recently how much was given to the military in the last 3 years through the budget and even behind the budget. Yet, these young boys in the bush have more sophisticated weapons. issues of security, issues of national question, everything is boiled to one point. Minimum wage is boiled to the question of injustice, is boiled to the question of